Mics are hot and ready.
Thank you for your patience. We'll now open the Town of Lake Lure Town Council regular meeting Tuesday, October the 11th at 5 p.m. Would you please stand for the invocation? Thank you.
Father, we thank you for another blessed day, fall approach, leaves changing, a new season dawns, a beautiful full moon graced us, and now we come into fall. As we come into the meeting this evening, please give us patience, grace, and collaboration as we look through some of these large infrastructure projects, work alongside our town staff, keep our emergency services, fire and emergency personnel safe as we move into this very busy season, and then continue into winter as we begin these large infrastructure projects to improve our community and benefit our citizens, friends, neighbors, and most of all, to serve each other in love and grace and move forward in this beautiful location we call home. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Very nice as always.
Thank you, ma'am.
Good evening. We're so glad that you're here. We have a long agenda, but a good agenda, I think. Speaking of which, are there any changes, additions to the agenda?
Madam Mayor, I would like to make 2 changes if possible. I would like to take new business item D and make it new item 6, presentation A, and then the Morse Park Master Plan accessibility would be new B. And I'd also like to take I out of the consent agenda and make it item A under unfinished business.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second, Madam Mayor.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any other changes? And do I hear a motion to accept the agenda as amended?
Madam Mayor, I move that we accept the agenda as edited.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Then the agenda is accepted as amended. Let me just get this in here so I read it right. All right, well, thank you. Thank you all for coming. We appreciate it, and it really makes the meeting a lot better if we have people here from the community to participate with us. It is a long agenda today, so my mayor's communications tonight are just to thank you all for coming and for being good members of our community and really helping us as a council decide what's going to move us forward and what's in the best interest for Lake Lure. We will move on then to the town manager's communications. Mr. Perkins.
Thank you, Mayor. First, I'll start with Public Services. Public Services did accomplish getting the exterior of this building painted last month. It looks very good. In Community Development, they handled 35 permits for the month as compared to 30 in August. Also, during our work session, they presented, and it's on the agenda for this evening, their 3rd position. It is administrative position. It will be confirmed tonight by council if everything goes according to plan. Moving forward into emergency services and emergency management. With hours for the month was 83, and they worked in various different areas for it. And then moving forward, finance is still working on the annual audit report, and then they discussed with council at the work session a new position for support for accounting. That is on the agenda for this evening as well. And then for communication, Ms. Creechy put out 46 articles that went out to 1,570 citizens. We had 45 Facebook posts that reached 54,126. And then we also, this was something that communications and Laura put together. She helped successfully have the property owners with phase 1 at Sunset Cove that we accomplished with her help as well. And then for us, during the month of September, the manager in the clerk's office, we did get out and put the bids out for HDD, that's the directional drilling. Those bids will be opened up, we'll have that for tomorrow. And that concludes it.
Perfect,
Thank
thank you so much. Lot was done this last month, so progress. We'll now move on to our council liaison reports and comments. Commissioner Doster?
Thank you, Mayor. I'll be brief. ABC Board, I was filling in for Mr. Proctor. The store did 15% above total sales for the month over last year. We do have an open position for a manager, so if anyone's interested, see Mr. Proctor. And there are still some shortages on certain items coming in. It's just, I guess the supply chain is just still being the problem. Zoning and planning met. We did discuss the new food truck ordinance that we're working on. Director Williams has it in place. The guys approved it. I guess Mr. Williams will get it put together and then bring it to council for an approval. Parks and Rec, we discussed the new attendance requirements that the board will be implementing on all of our advisory boards. Pool Creek lighting, in case anybody hasn't noticed, the lights are actually working on Pool Creek Bridge. I want to thank Parks and Rec and Mr. George Whitmer for that. Morse Park, we have some things tonight we'll talk about, so I won't even go into that. The Flowering Bridge did 116,000 folks year to date, 13,000 in September. They've raised $83,000 for their education center. And also their bears will be going out for auction, October 14th through the 23rd. On their website, you can go find the link. And Weed Patch Mountain, Buffalo Creek Trails, Eagle Rock to the Summit, those are all going to be assigned to the Hickory Nut Gorge State Trail System, which is really awesome. And that's it.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Diorio?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The Board of Adjustments did meet. No notable business for Town Council. The Lake Advisory Board did meet. The lake use regulations are published. They're on the website. That'll be re-reviewed next summer for the overall impact. But two remaining items from the lake use regulations that'll be coming up before the Marine Commission, and that is the proposal for a barrier system that we're working with Parks and Rec, Lake Operations with, and the actual training curriculum for the licensing of boaters coming up in January. And Dana, if you could, whenever you have that ready for initial review, let me know, and we want to get that into the circuit and take a look at that. And so those are two outstanding items that will be coming up in the future, and that concludes my report.
Perfect, thank you. And I know that ABC we already did. So that we had steering committee meeting. Hank, I'll let you.
Yeah, we had our steering committee again for the TDA, and we had a presentation from Tim Morse with Destination by Design. He gave the steering committee a lot of update on the Morse Park improvements that we will also be hearing a little bit about this evening as a part of our presentation on the grant that we're pursuing.
Okay, thank you. And thank everyone who serves on the boards. What an integral part of our community that is, to get information from people in the community to help us have the information we need to make the decisions. So we appreciate all the hours, and particularly I want to thank for the lake use regulations. I know that was not hundreds, but probably thousands of hours that went into that, redoing that, so we appreciate that very much. We're going to move on to our next section, which is presentations. We have had a little adjustment there, and we are moving something that was on new business to under presentations, and that is the thing here. Presentation by Foothills Regional Comprehensive Transportation Plan and endorsing the Lake Lure section of the plan to Rutherford County. That is a mouthful, and we appreciate Alan Tooney coming back and to answer any questions that you might have about that. We've had a presentation before,
Yes.
but I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Manager, for moving us up closer to the top. We really appreciate that. It does mean a lot to us. I'll try not to bore you too much. I think I did enough of that on the work session. But I do want to thank you for having us back tonight to consider this plan. We're happy with the plan. We think it's a good plan, and we're just here just in case y'all have any other questions or any other concerns about that plan.
I'm happy with it.
I'm happy
Yeah.
with it.
Yeah, we're
I think we're all
pleased,
very happy. You did an excellent job for us
Thank you.
with the presentation. You truly did. If there are any questions, that come up later,
I'll cut it
Yeah.
off.
we know where to
Yeah.
find you.
That's right.
We do. So, I think that having, thank you very much for that. That being the case, do we, have a motion to,
Madam Mayor, I'd make a motion to adopt the Foothills Regional Comprehensive Transportation Plan and endorsing the Lake Lure section of the plan to Rutherford County.
your second?
Madam
second.
Mayor? Yep. Dr. Oh, yeah, Bryant, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Then, we unanimously approve that, and thank you very much, and good luck on your way to Saluda.
Thank you. Finish out the buy-in process.
I think they have kind of a
Thank you,
traveling road show tonight, to tell you the truth. So, we will now, item B, thank you so much for being patient with us. The Morse Park Master Plan, North Carolina Accessibility for Parks Grants Program. I'm sure you could give this in your sleep by now.
I think I have given it my sleep.
Could be.
I can.
Do we have copies of this in the back? Did we make copies? Olivia,
It's in your packet.
no, no, did we make any copies? Okay, is it on the website?
It's in the packet, yes.
In the packet, yes, so we can, yeah. This present, you can see, if you want a copy of this, you can, there's a copy of it in the packet on the website, if you want to go in and after this meeting is over and save any of these parts to look at. Please go ahead.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Madam Mayor and members of the board. I appreciate you accommodating us this evening, and I'd like to get your support and approval for the Morse Park Master Plan, North Carolina Accessibility for Parks Grant. And I'd like to explain some of the details for the grant program before you take that under consideration. The program details include the available funding. This is a $10 million grant fund from the North Carolina Parks and Recreation Grant Fund to benefit children and veterans in North Carolina with disabilities. The maximum award for this grant is $500,000. The minimum local matching funds required are 20% or $1 for every $5 awarded. And the application is due November 1st, 2022. So we at Destination by Design have been working on the application packet. And this is a requirement for the packet that you all support and approve the application going forward. And if you're familiar with the North Carolina Parks and Recreation Trust Fund, this is a very similar process to that. There have been successful part-of grants awarded in Rutherford County this year, including in Rutherfordton for the Norse Park Recreation Center and in Spindale for the skate park. This vicinity map shows where the Morse Park project is. Of course, this is right here beside Town Hall. This is also a requirement of the grant packet, but it shows how the property is accessed from Main Street or US Highway 64 Memorial Highway in this instance. The project description: this project will promote redevelopment and enhancement of a significant community recreation asset. It includes a renovated paved path, a poured-in-place universal design playground, and a picnic area with enhancements focused on serving children and veterans with disabilities. The justification for the project includes the existing ADA facilities in town parks are limited currently. Morse Park is centrally located in town on a flat site with mountainous views, and the site features ADA connectivity to other recreation features within town. It is also adjacent to your town hall, of course, the municipal center, the Rutherford County Welcome Center, and the marina. Previous planning efforts that have included this project are the Morse Park Site Master Plan from 2017. Also, the original Rutherford-bound tourism master plan from 2018 recommended improvements to Morse Park, and the Morse Park site master plan update in 2021, which you all considered, featuring expanded parking, new recreation facilities, and a large amphitheater. And as part of the Rutherford-bound 3-year strategic action plan, the town committed to advancing the Morse Park master plan. Here you can see that master plan, and I will go into the details of this application briefly. You can see that for this particular application, it requires 3 recreation facilities. One of those is a quarter-mile paved path loop. You can see it indicated there by the red arrows. A universal design playground, which is an ADA-compatible playground featuring poured-in-place surface. A universal design picnic area, which is also ADA-compatible picnic areas adjacent to the parking. New bathrooms with showers. Additional parking with approximately 50 spaces, and additional sidewalks as support facilities. And finally, the AFP project budget. You can see there, you've seen this before, it was in your packet. Of course, the total project cost is $1,775,490. The grant request is for $450,000, and the total local match would be $1,325,490. The line items for this budget are included. We can discuss those if you'd like, but I would just again point out that the 3 main recreation features include the paved path, the playground, and the picnic area. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Any questions?
I have one question. So the total local match is 1 million. Really, the match for the grant is 20% of the 450, right?
That's the minimum match, yes, sir. And your match would be much more. It's $1,325,000, so it's much more than the minimum 20%.
Yeah, but we don't have to do it all at once. I mean, if we get the grant, we're not matching that amount in the near term, right?
The short answer to that is the town would be supplying $425,000. The TDA, the Rutherford County TDA is allocating $425,000
Got
over
it.
3 years.
Got it.
And
Yeah,
the-
so,
It's over 3 years.
yeah, so that's why the total local match has kind of confused me. It was a little bit different than what I had seen, so, okay.
Yeah,
No, I
this is
understand.
just for this grant application.
Got it.
Just specific to that one.
Yep.
Yeah, the previous presentation that John did had
Right.
Right,
Right.
and I saw it a little bit different. It
Right.
confused me a little bit.
Any other questions? We thank you so very much. We
Thank
do.
you.
And there was a public hearing last week, and so people from the community had an opportunity to come and listen. So I think everybody has, this has been, we appreciate so much the help that we've gotten in trying to secure these grants, because clearly we need money from other places. And so TDA's been very helpful to us in trying to find some different types of grants that we can apply for to match other funds that we have and that TDA has given us. So thank you very much for that. We appreciate that.
Thank you, ma'am.
We're not actually voting on it tonight.
So it
No.
sounds like we're gonna vote on.
They have you have something in the new business that you'll have to do for facts and insurances.
Right.
Yep.
So we'll vote on it then. All right, thank you very
Oh,
much.
okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
So that concludes our presentations. Thank you so much, and we
Ron,
will actually,
yeah, you need anything, I mean, you made the presentation, you're good to go on the approvals for the submittal?
Yes, sir. All we need is your signature on the basic facts and
Right.
assurances page, and
Right.
then we'll proceed with preparing the full application.
and we'll
Nice.
vote on that in the new business.
And Mr. Morgan, you got the attorney's opinion or I guess certification,
I'll
side
get it.
certification?
I can get it to you tomorrow.
Okay,
Yeah,
all right, we're good.
and
Good, he's got
That's
everything
all
he
we
needs.
can
Okay, good.
We're
Sounds
ready to
good.
go.
it's certified.
Thank you for your work.
Yes,
Thank you.
thank you
Yeah,
very
this
much.
is gonna be neat.
It's been incredible
nice.
for us. Been a long time we've been talking about the Morse Park plan, so good that we're finally gonna get started. This is gonna be fantastic. We're now gonna move on to the public comment. I do have a list here, but if someone did come in after the list was brought up, you can still offer your comment. We do limit the comments to 3 minutes apiece, And if you would come up to the podium, and then if you'll just flip that little hourglass there for you, that's actually 3 minutes, and that's how much you get. And that can help you keep yourself within your time allotment without my having to say this all the day. So we will start. The first person who is signed up is Mr. Jonathan Hinkle. If you will, just state your name, which I already have, but your address. We would appreciate that so that Olivia can get it into the record.
Name's Jonathan Hinkle at 1804 Memorial Highway, Lake Lure, North Carolina.
There you go.
I'd like to voice a complaint against, with the town of Lake Lure about the current zoning regulations and lake structures regulations that we have. In the past, we have always looked at those things, knowing that we have an incomplete or set of regulations that don't necessarily fit everything on the town of, everything that we do in the town of Lake Lure. And then in the past year, now we have new people. We always get new people. But now we're taking a hard-nosed, direct, black and white stance on a lot of these items. A lot of these items have to do with boathouse renovations, boathouse reconstruction, repairs, and they're becoming very debilitating, very costly to homeowners. They are a time suck on the requirements that we have, and honestly, they're not something that I believe that is required for some of these repairs. I would like to be able to, I've recommended that we have some type of boondoggle or some type of event where we can have some collaboration between the contractors, homeowners, and town staff to be able to reconcile these issues. We talk about it a lot, but yet we never get there, and then the homeowners have to go through all of these hoops. I know this is gonna be an extreme situation, but if I was to repair a dock and replace all the dock boards, and one joist had to be replaced, that one joist is considered structural, and I'm required to have an architect or an engineer sign off on that one joist. Now, I know that that is like coming down to the bare minimum, but when we're talking about going down to the black and white with the regulations today, those are kind of the regulations that we're having to deal with. And I don't know how to go about getting this to happen. I've tried to make it happen before, and we just can't seem to get anybody together to make these adjustments that need to be made. Same thing happens in the zoning regulations. It's not as strict because architect or engineer designs aren't required on a lot of things that are required in construction of a dock. I have some personal or business issues that I would like to discuss, not necessarily in an open forum like this, but I just don't believe that I'm being heard. I believe I get to a point and I get stopped and then just nothing happens. People won't listen, and we can't come to a resolution that works. I believe that in my situation, I've been singled out, not intentionally, but I've just been singled out. I've sent all of you an email a while ago expressing those things, and don't know who to go to talk about them. The door stops, or the door stays closed.
Well, thank you for your comments. We appreciate it, and they were heard and listened to, and we appreciate it. Thank you. We will move on then to Ms. Mobay.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I've had a chance this evening to discuss my concerns with Dana Bradley, so I'm going to hold off on making a talk to the council.
All right. Glad you got the information you needed. JR and Lisa Huffwa.
Yes, we're here, and our concerns have also been answered, so we're fine.
We're getting more and more efficient here on this.
Okay.
The next one is Suni Clark.
I won't start the timer yet, but my name is Sunny Clark. And I'm at 137 Seawish Way up off of Boys Camp. I've been here just a little over a year.
I love the community. Yay, awesome. But I am here at this meeting because myself and many of my new friends that I have met since moving here to Lake Lure over a year ago are passionate about pickleball. We have over 20 people who come and participate at the courts here in Morris Park. Every morning we play 4 days a week, and between 8 and 10, and we have a wonderful time, and it's a great community that we have together and friends. But what I really want to know is what I need to do to try to continue to have courts or pickleball courts or repave the ones that we have. And I know there is a master plan in Morris Park, and I've seen that. I don't know what the next plan is for the any type of courts to be moved someplace, or if there is something that we can work out to still maintain having courts in this area. What I would like to do is try to create a public sector, private sector relationship, or partnership, I'm sorry, and maybe, you know, try to get the community together to help if there's any kind of funding that we can do. My hometown in Newark, Ohio did this. They raised $480,000 to build pickleball courts. They didn't have a place to put them, so they put them on public land. So that's why I'm talking to you about this opportunity to possibly, you know, both of us come together and see if we can't do this. It is community strong. Just a few facts. It does promote overnight travelers. It would be very successful, much like our Olympiad. We could do tournaments, we could do charity events. There's huge amount of traveling with pickleball teams that travel. I'm a big believer in first mover, so I would really like to get in on the ground floor while this is still charging ahead, and it's such a new and exciting sport taking off. The players tend to be educated and with an average income of $100,000. The core players are 35 to 75 years old. The core players' age range, that is actually starting to tick down. It used to be right around the 55 to 65 range, and now that is actually starting to go down as younger players are starting to come on to the game. I don't know if you've heard, LeBron James just bought a professional pickleball team. So, also, there are 4.8 million people who play pickleball, and most of that is concentrated east of the Mississippi and into the southeast, with North Carolina, South Carolina, of course, Florida, being mentioned in the top. So, whatever I need to do, please help me, guide me on having pickleball courts here and more of them.
Well, thank you for bringing that to attention. That certainly is a sport that's growing. A lot of people who used to play tennis now play pickleball for a variety of reasons.
Absolutely.
It certainly is something that we have looked at and recognized that, and so as we look for other recreational opportunities, that's something that we are thinking about.
Okay,
So thank you for bringing it to our attention.
thank you.
Next person is Sue Trombino. Oh, I'm Miss Ray, I apologize, I skipped you, I was not trying to,
That's okay, I was here supporting Sunny and she did a great job.
Okay.
okay, all right, well, thank you. We'll tell them.
Okay. Well, thank you. My name is Sue Trombino, and I live at 257 Seaton Road. And we have been residents here for about 18, 19 years, and my husband is staying here more often than not now. I'm not here all the time. But I'm here, and if I can take my husband's time too, because this is real important. We're here because you're going to be discussing the dog leash law. And I don't believe that it's really about a leash law, because it all started, well, for 18 years, we've had 4 labs. And right now we have a black lab and a yellow lab. My husband, he has somewhat of a, this isn't something we really want to talk about, but he has a little bit of a disability. And he loves to bring the dogs down here to the lake. And they are here where nobody's really around. and he brings them right out here. They go into their lab, so they go into the water, and they're ADD on steroids with their ball. So what all started was one day, when we walk around, we always have a leash, like a physical leash, but our dogs are trained. They're very expensive dogs. They've been trained with and I'm sorry that I did not bring my prop, but it is an electronic leash. And our trainer has been a trainer from the United States for about 43 years. And that electronic leash, and it's about the size of my phone, is more, it's actually better than even some of the leashes that you have. People have the long leashes. So it all started when my husband was confronted by a gal over here with a park ranger, and she told him to put the dogs on the leash, and he said, I'm sorry. He goes, they are on a leash because they're very well trained. I can whistle, they're there. We just call them, they're there. And there was a little bit of a confrontation, and he said, no, I'm not going to put them on a leash. I have them on a leash. And she got very angry with my husband, and she said, when I tell people to do something, they do it. And my husband, I'm not justifying this, but he said, well, I'm not, because my dogs are on a leash. And so she said, well, I'm going to get this changed. Well, we're here all the time. We have quite a few of the cops that have seen our dogs. We sit there in the park here with the cops, and they see us, throw the ball. We talk to them. Well, one of the cops came to my husband to our house, and he showed us what the law said, or what the code said, and it said that you should have them on a leash, but it did not say what kind of leash. So we said, well, this is a leash, and actually two police officers said, well, you know what, it doesn't really say it. And so we said, well, I guess you're fine. And so we've never had a problem. My dogs have never bitten anybody, called anybody. They don't chase the geese, they don't chase the ducks, they chase the ball. And so we're very cognizant, we're animal lovers, and we're very cognizant of different dogs. We understand that there are different, people have their dogs on different leashes. Well, what started this really was about 3 weeks later, my husband was down here at the lake, and Miss Bradley here came in her car with her boss and waving this piece of paper that she told my husband that, well, the code has changed. And my husband was coming around the corner, and the dogs were not on the physical leash, but she apparently had come to you all. Now, if you'll allow me, I did watch your all's last meeting, and I was wondering, how did this all of a sudden in 2 to 3 weeks pass? How can this, I understand, I work with the top constitutional attorneys in this country. I understand that there's procedures to things with City Hall and all that. And I thought, gosh, how did that happen in 3 weeks, that somebody can come in and change a code, and it all of a sudden it said visual and 6-foot leash. And my husband said, so he was coming around, he didn't have the visual, the leash, he had the electronic leash. And anyway, I won't get into the whole thing, but apparently he was not very nice, and I apologize for that. But he said, put your dogs on a leash. He said, they're on a leash. And she said, no, here is the new ruling. And she gave him a ticket. He said, I'm not going to take the ticket. This is silly. And anyway, he gave her well, she didn't even know what the amount was. My husband had to tell her that it was a $50 ticket for not putting our dogs on a physical leash, because you all had just passed it. So I went back and I watched your all's meeting, and I noticed, I thought, I never saw anybody come up, talk about it, discuss this. And I realized that it was all, you all at the very beginning, you all do your minutes and you say, do we pass this? Yes, no, whatever. And I thought, oh my gosh. So I came down, I asked to speak with the mayor, and the gal in front said, I think you need to talk to the town manager. I came, we sat down with the town manager, and meanwhile, I had started going, in my phone, I have a lot of animals or people that have walked their dogs on an 8 to 10-foot leash, 12-foot leash, no leash, but yet we were singled out. And
I just need to let you know your time is out.
okay, can I take my husband's time? Because
Yeah,
this is real
so
important, please.
You're 2 minutes into his time.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. But very quickly, so when speaking with with Hank and then Olivia, I said, how did this pass? And we find out that Dana had come in, and I said, well, how do you pass it? What did she say? She said, well, there was complaints. I said, well, we've never had a complaint. So right there I realized that we have pictures of all these people that I said, what are you gonna do? And you had a special meeting that my husband and I came to, that are you going to now put all the cops and everybody out there to measure, are you 6-foot leash, 8-foot leash, 10-foot leash? And unfortunately, I saw Hank that day, took a picture with his dog Boone, and he had his leash, about 8 to 10-foot leash on. And I thought, wow. So what happened was you all passed a code without even really knowing what's in it. Because I spoke with David, and I'm sorry, I can't, Patrick. And they didn't even know how this all even transpired. So the bottom line is, we feel like we were targeted because my husband said no. So we either have a woman that doesn't like the fact that a man said no to her, or there is, I'm the boss, you do what I say to do, because she did say, I'm gonna change this, and within 3 weeks, it's changed. Now, my husband anyway, I won't get into that, but the point is that you passed, I don't wanna pay the ticket, number one, because Hank, if we pay the ticket, then you actually, went against what you guys had just passed, that it has to be a 6-foot leash, which is really, really silly. And so, one woman, changing something that's in Lake Lure.
We appreciate it, but your time is out for your husband too.
Okay.
But thank you for your comments.
Well, this is just silly.
Actually changing it to where it doesn't say a certain length.
It's on the agenda this evening.
And it is on the agenda for this evening, so we can discuss it more then. Is there anyone else who want to make a public comment who did not have an opportunity to sign up on this sheet? Well, thank you all. That's right. And if you would please just state your name and your address so we can get it in the record. Thank you.
Debbie Warren, 138 Yacht Island Drive. Will we have an opportunity to discuss this leash business, the dog leash business? Because I train Aussies on a 20-foot physical.
It's on the agenda.
It's on the
It's on
agenda.
the
So we'll be
agenda.
able to discuss it?
It's on the agenda.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else? Then thank you for your comments. We will move on then to the next item on the agenda,
I'll give the rundown on this.
which is the consent agenda. I am going to do something a little differently tonight because for people who are streaming, they are sometimes not aware of what is on the consent agenda. So I'm going to, Hank asked me just to read the topics, not all the descriptions of them, so that anyone who is streaming will be able to know what we're voting on. So bear with me if you will. First item on the consent agenda is approval of the September 13th, 2022 regular town council meeting minutes. The September 28th, 2022 special town council meeting minutes. The September 28th, 2022 regular town council work session meeting minutes, and the September 30th, 2022 special town council meeting minutes. Second item is accounting clerk 1 position and salary grade. Next item, community development administrative support specialist position. Item D, Labella Task 15 wastewater treatment plant master plan. Item E, Labella Task 16 deepwater launch permitting. Resolution number 22-10-11, declaring fire department pump surplus and authorizing transfer to Hankins Norfolk Volunteer Fire Department. Resolution number 22-10-11A, 2023 dredging grant. H, tree removal from within 990-foot boundary request, Lot 3 on Chapel Point Road, parcel number 1617657. And we moved the I.
I's gone.
It's gone, I's gone. J, approve annual addendum to the county service district contract. And that is all. So just to let everyone know who is streaming and listening to this, what items are on the agenda. So do I hear a motion to accept the agenda the consent agenda as amended?
Madam Mayor, I'll make a motion. We approve the consent agenda as amended with the removal of item I and moving that to the new unfinished business.
I second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Then the consent agenda is accepted as amended. We will move on. Item number 9 is unfinished business. However, we do not have any unfinished business, so we will
Yes,
move.
yes, we do.
Oh.
We have a,
Get the new,
Oh, I'm
Video
so
production.
sorry.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. We moved item I from the consent agenda to unfinished business.
I got it, Jim. I can take it.
yeah,
change it.
yeah, get-
So, the problem with item I, funding for the videos, we've concurred that we do want to do the videos. There's a discrepancy in the amount, Madam Mayor. The true amount should be $30,000 in the amendment. So, I move that we edit that line item to $30,000 and approve the $30,000 budget amendment.
I'll second that.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Then that is approved as amended. We'll now move on to our new business. The first item on new business is ordinance number 22-10-11, amending the Code of Ordinances, Section 4-2, dangerous dogs barking leash requirements. Mr. Perkins.
Yes, ma'am. You heard a little bit about this during public comment. As you'll see in the agenda form that we've got in here, during the September 13th regular meeting, we did have an ordinance amendment for the leash law, and that was put in under the consent agenda. We're back here tonight revisiting the same issue. If you look at the ordinances proposed for council's consideration this evening, the struck-out portion of that ordinance does contain the language struck out that had been included and approved in the consent agenda on September 13th. That does say properly restrained by a visible leash not exceeding 6 feet in length. Once we had that conversation with Ms. Trombino and her husband, we looked at it and figured out that 6 feet was very specific, maybe too specific for it. So we came back, and at our work session at the end of last month, we did have this item up for discussion, and it was discussed at that time. We're proposing to replace that language once again with the language that you see underlined in the ordinance number, secured by a leash, lead, or other means of physical restraint, which leash, lead, or other means of physical restraint is not harmful or injurious to the dog, and which is held by a responsible person capable of physically restraining the dog. So we have gotten to a point where it is a physical leash. It is not determined to be a specific length.
So I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Ambino, am I to understand your dog is on an electronic leash?
Yes, but we always carry an extra leash just in case.
Right.
Because we're very
Right.
responsible that way.
I understand. So I'm curious, because that's kind of cool, but I'm not sure, I think this kind of goes to some of what's been going on with some of the lake use regulations with boats and things that are technology and, catching up, the code's catching up with technology. And, what happens if that fails? What happens if you were walking along, and I forget that your dogs are great, and forget all of that. Let's pretend somebody's got a dog who they're working with, and that fails on them as they go along. Another dog comes up, that dog takes off, and the leash doesn't work. How do you think that maybe we should approach that?
That's a great question, but for us, it has never failed. We've had our dogs for, 10, 20, 30, 40, 4 years, and we've never had that happen. We always carry a leash with us, and if people are coming around, we always put our dogs on, and that's just because you don't know. And, I really believe that most dog owners really understand, does your dog bite? That's a great question, but I think we can get into the weeds with that. Ours, we've never had an issue here, and and then plus I can whistle, my dogs are right there, they're very well trained.
I think everybody that, and I know this for a fact, that most people have dogs think their dog is just like their child. It's the most wonderful child or the most wonderful, well-behaved dog on the planet. And as we all know, that's not necessarily the case. So we have to, I think we have to look out for, in general. So.
Yeah, make a The thing is that this was subjective, it was malintent, and it was targeted, because there are dogs, I have been around the lake every day, taking pictures of dogs, and all of us know, my husband comes in the morning, and we come even way late at night, and, I mean, even if you go over to where the boats, on the other side where the liquor store is, it says there, control of your dogs. We just had a gentleman over there from Burton, he had his 2 dogs in there, and I thought, oh boy, you're in trouble, and it was like, what? And I think that I think that for me, and I understand, I really do, because I deal with all of this, but I think this is a mountain out of a molehill. You've never had an issue with it. In 18 years that I've been there, you haven't had any dog bites, anything. I think everybody's handling this, but and with all due respect, it was because one person didn't like the word no, and then we got into this, and then it was malintent by just sneaking it in. But that's
So,
fine,
yeah,
that's
so
fine.
I won't go there because I can't, we can't speak to that, can't speak to that person's mindset or how that went on at the time.
But we've never had an issue.
And we haven't, and again, that doesn't, it's the things just like Mr. Hinkle brought up earlier, you know, maybe there's some things in zoning and planning that we need to look at. Maybe there's things in the LAB and the lake use regulations that we need to look at as we go forward. And this happened, it brought it up, so now it's to our attention. And I think this gives us an opportunity to take a look at it. Really, the only thing that I see here that maybe you might not like is the fact that this is giving a long leash, we're giving a lot of space here, but we're not doing we don't have anything in here that says it's okay to have an electronic leash. And, because the way I read this, Hank, correct me if I'm wrong.
That's correct.
We're giving a lot more leash, we're giving a lot more leeway, but we're not saying anything about electronic. So if we agree to this tonight and pass this, you would still be in violation because your dogs would not be on a leash, a physical leash.
And I can go to the fact that we've seen people that have a leash that don't have control of their dog.
Completely understand, and that's what I'm saying.
We single it out
Right.
because that's really violating my civil rights.
In
because I'm being,
in my conversation with the Trombinos this evening is our attempt to try to rectify this, to clear up any ambiguity that we've had in the leash ordinance for it.
Right.
The leash ordinance is not town-wide. It is applied to town-owned properties and specifically to the parks. So a lot of what we talked about in this is that because it is not town-wide, we are not enforcing this with anything other than town parks. So for us and Morse Park and other parks, we as the owner and proprietor of the parks, for instance, are trying to come up with a standard that we expect our visitors to adhere to. We did consider the off-leash kind of training collar issue. My problem in coming up with trying to include that is it gets to the training portion. And what we could see was not acceptable was the idea that anyone could go to a PetSmart or local pet company, buy a training collar, put it on there, and then without the type of training that's obvious that the Trombinos have been through with their own animals, have that constitute a legal definition of a leash within our own parks.
Right.
So.
Right.
Yes.
Debbie?
Yeah, I just like to say, I train Aussies, Australian Shepherds, and I don't use electronic triggers with them because they're a breed that doesn't respond well to them. So they're on a hard leash, but they're very well trained. But there are dogs, German Shepherds, police dogs, that are extremely well trained on electric monitors, and they carry a tag that says how they've been trained. You can identify them very easily if they've been trained the right way. If they're PetSmart trained, shock them to death collar, that's not appropriate. But there are very, very reputable systems by which you can train your dogs with electronics. And so if we can allow some sort of ID, if you see a dog, it's not on a leash, it comes immediately to the side of the owner. The officer can check the tags and it's right there that they're trained to be that way. Then that's a responsible dog owner and they've done a good job training. Hard leashes aren't necessary for all dogs. They are for some. Some don't respond as well. So you're right, it is a conundrum.
Thank you. Any more Comments, conversations?
Well, this has nothing to do with electronic leashes, but we're going from a length of 6 feet to an unspecified length, which tells me somebody with a 100-foot cord is in compliance, which I'm not particularly sure I like that.
Well, that's true. We did have this discussion at the work session, and we
I remember that,
we
but I'm still-
debated whether or not to put a physical or a finite length on this thing. And at that time, we talked about going ahead and going with what we had and seeing how it goes and revisiting if necessary. The other part too, council, that I considered in doing this is you got the people that are working with the animal. You got the other visitors to the park that are witnessing the dogs, witnessing the dogs, even if they're under command. They do not know, upon looking at the dogs that are in the park and the ones that may be approaching, the level of training that has been carried out with these dogs. So what we're trying to do is keep some sensitivity to other visitors who may, for whatever reason, be fearful of animals and not know what they are being approached by. So that was the other part of our consideration with trying to avoid getting into the electronic leash at this point.
I will say, and it won't be finalized today certainly, but one solution would be to do something that we've had dozens and dozens and dozens of people asking for, which is a dog park.
Yes.
Can I just make a comment? Correct me if I'm wrong, but this whole discussion began when a dog was mauled by a visitor's dog. And that was, what, about 2 years ago, Dana? They mauled a dog that was not on a leash, and then the owner of the dog took off with no culpability. So that's why we're having this discussion, and unfortunately, you know, our population goes from 1,500 to 15,000, and you've got all these people coming here that you can't control. So I think that what you're proposing is reasonable, an unlimited lead, that way they can go in the water if they want to, but a physical leash.
I'd like to make a comment. You know, the thing is that, this really started, well, I don't know about back then, but this really started with us here. But the thing is, you know, in different parts, and I understand, well, the last meeting you guys had, Ms. Bradley, you know, was out there doing this thing with the sign, not understanding that right there in the water was 2 dogs, no leashes, the owner was right there. Are you going to be willing, with the town, again, it's gonna be subjective, because the only reason we really are discussing this, Hank, is because you turned to Olivia and said, oh, I think we need to change this. We need to discuss the 6 foot to the other thing, right? But now are you going to have all the cops stop everybody? Because I went to, again, over by the liquor store, because it says, has a sign that it says, control your dog, you know, as long as the dog is under control. And there was a gal, 2 people that came, they were visitors from Raleigh, and all my dogs were in the water. And I looked and I went, okay, so I brought my dogs to me, and then I asked the gal, is your dog okay? Is he friendly with dogs? Oh, yes. I said, okay. Now, so that was somebody from another town. Are you gonna be willing to start to, give tickets to everybody that doesn't have their dog on a leash or that doesn't? And I understand, I really do understand, with the mall, I do understand that there are people out there, but are we gonna be so constricted to, all of a sudden, just like the gentleman earlier said, now it becomes black and white, there is nothing for discussion here. Now all of a sudden now the people that come here to Lake Lure, we've been here for almost 19 years, we've never had an issue, we come here early in the morning, nobody here. I just don't understand, we're getting into the weeds here with, well, this could possibly happen, and it becomes subjective. And then, are the cops gonna give tickets to everybody?
We're willing to have those conversations to gain compliance.
I'm sorry?
We're willing to have those conversations with people visiting the parks with their dogs to gain compliance. If we recognize that they are not operating, they're not walking their dogs appropriately, we will have those conversations.
Okay, any other questions?
We weren't able to have that conversation. We were just given, no, you do what I say, and there was no conversation.
Yeah, defer.
But
I would be comfortable with tabling this for further discussion.
Yeah, I agree.
Yes, before we move further forward.
Just make it an item on our next work session.
Yeah.
Yes.
Just one second.
How do we motion that?
You can just
I guess I would have to, wouldn't I?
Make a motion to table
Yeah.
the issue.
make a motion to table.
I make a motion that we table an ordinance amending code of ordinance section 4-2C, dangerous dogs barking leash requirements, until our work session at the end of this month, so that we can dig a little deeper into this.
Does that mean the new code, the newly revised code, 6 foot is in such, is enforced?
Yep, until, yeah.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second that.
It's only in public places, correct?
Correct.
Only in public places.
Town-
Well, only in
town-
town
town
property,
property.
not
Town
public
property.
places, but town property
Yeah.
only.
Lake Lure Town Hall, Washburn
Okay,
Marina, Morse Park, Ditmer Watts Nature Trail, and Lake Lure Green Space.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And that meeting will be on Wednesday, the 26th of October.
It will. And thank you all for your comments, we appreciate it. Obviously, it's a safety issue, and we all know that. I mean, one of the things that you know when you, and, you know, technology gets better and better about things like this, but when you walk in the park and you see someone, which I have many times, who has a dog, large dog that's not on a leash, and they say, "Do not worry, my dog is perfectly nice, friendly, and safe." You know, what you have to do is you just have to assume that person then is telling you the truth, because you have no idea whether that dog is under control. So I just wanted to let you know, that's somewhat what prompts this, is safety for other people. And visually, there's just no way to tell. I'll give you, some people may not be able to control their dog even on a leash. I'll give you that one. But anyway, thank you, and thank you all for your comments. We appreciate it. We're gonna move on then to, item B, under new business, consider adoption of comprehensive parks and recreation master plan, open space plan updates. Hank?
All right, I'm going to turn this over to Ms. Dana Bradley, who's going to give the staff presentation on this.
So as you know, the open space plan had not been updated since 2014, so a lot of the information was incredibly out of date. We added new maps of our recreational assets, and we added descriptions of new recreation areas that have come to life since 2014. That's things like Weed Patch Mountain Trail, Young's Mountain, the Lake Lure Green Space, and things like that. We added some information on Rutherford Bound and how the TDA has been working with us on everything. We updated all the census data from the 2020 census, and worked really hard with the Parks and Rec Board and several board members to get it updated, and we are just asking that you approve the new plan with the changes.
All right, are there any questions for Ms. Bradley? Comments?
Has there been a broad public survey in regard to parks in the last, since the original one in 2006?
I don't believe so.
Okay. That's referenced on page 6 on a.
Yeah, we actually took that section out since it was so outdated, and most of the requests have actually been fulfilled throughout the years.
Well, I think where I'm getting at is there's several things in here that I think are either antiquated or listed as high priority that shouldn't be.
Right.
Certainly the additions that were added bring this up to date, but I do think Park and Rec and the town as a whole needs to relook at this plan and bring a new one up to date.
I would agree.
Anyway, yeah, and I won't bring up all the things I found, but there's certain things in here that really need to be taken out, and some things like pickleball perhaps put in.
Exactly, yeah, yeah, and we would be happy to
And I
do
think
that.
we're finding that for a lot of our plans, like the town comprehensive plan, you know, we're nearing the end of it. And so there are a lot of things that we sort of don't need to start over from scratch, but need to be updated and amended. So I think we're in that process, and I agree with that, Jim.
Well, the other thing we can do is look at what was adopted in 2007, and you brought up. Let folks know what's actually been accomplished, because there's been quite a few things accomplished.
Oh,
So it's not like
huge.
there's just a plan that sits on the table, it's a plan that has results.
It's a working plan, yeah.
It is, it's got the future suggestions and everything.
Anyway, that's my 2 cents.
All
Yeah.
Yep.
So do I hear a motion to approve the Comprehensive Parks and Recreation Master Plan, Open Space Plan updates?
Yep. You don't want to approve that?
I'm not gonna make the motion.
I'll make the motion.
All right, do I hear a second? Do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
All right, all in favor?
All right.
Then the plan is approved. Thank you, Dana.
So we're gonna update the update?
I'm gonna spend.
All right, we'll move on to item number C, which is consider approval of basic facts and assurances submitted by Destination by Design. Mr. Perkins?
Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry, I was updating Mr. Brown or something.
Maybe I should have said that's okay, we'll fix it.
Okay, the item C goes along with our grant submittal. On your packet there, this is a document required as part of the grant application. This is the facts and assurances for the park plan itself, and the part of the grant application itself needs to be approved by council tonight so that it can be submitted as part of the grant application.
Madam Mayor, I make a motion to approve the basic facts and assurances for the 2022 ASP application.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
All right.
Then the approval is unanimous for the basic facts and assurances for the 2022 AFP application. We'll move on then. We have already considered the Foothills Regional Comprehensive Transportation Plan. We'll move on to item E, which is Labella Task 17, the AIA Preliminary Project Scope.
Okay, you've got this was placed in at your station. This is a loose piece. It's not actually a task order. This is a scope that needs to be submitted by the end of the month to the Viable Utilities Program as a part of our being a part of that. This is to be funded with $200,000 in grant funds that has a $0 match requirement. You can see from the proposed scope that we've got included here that we intend to maximize all $200,000 worth of those grant funds for it. And so, really what this is for a point of information for council, because we're going to be submitting this to the state for their review and approval. They may or may not have changes that come back for this, but I assume that they're going to be okay with it. But I do not want to submit anything where we're planning to spend any amount of money, close to $200,000, without first reviewing it by council. So if you guys are okay with this, you can approve the scope as a submittal for the Viable Utilities Program. Would you like any explanation as regards to what we're going to be doing on this? We have staff here that can help.
I think that might be nice.
Okay.
Hank, did we adjust the percentages of the CCTV and the smoke testing?
I'm going to address Mr. Lindsay. Dean? There have some questions about the AIA proposal. Yeah, Commissioner Diorio, will you please repeat the question?
Yeah, so we have the lump sum portions, the CCTV, the smoke testing. Did you have a chance to adjust the amounts for I guess what it really comes down to, is the amount here of 20,000 enough for the smoke testing? Or were we gonna try to take some of the CCTV?
Okay, you're talking about for the AIA grant, correct?
Yeah.
Yes, everything was adjusted. We wanted to take full advantage of the full grant amount,
Okay,
and everything is contingent. I did clear it through the engineering. We have what the money in there is for if CCTV does not go, then that money will be moved over to.
so it's fungible, it can go,
Yes.
it can go from one year to around?
Yes, I was
Okay,
told
that-
it could be used with the
all right.
criteria of the sewer system. that-
Okay, all right.
Okay.
That answers my question, Mr. Manager.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
Good.
Any other questions or discussion?
On task 5 GIS license, what program is that for? $3,000?
The town license, the town
GIS
licensor.
license for the town?
What-
Yes,
Is
we will
that
be
an art-
upgrading our ArcGIS,
Okay, that's all.
but it will be for the new program.
Yeah.
And then the GPS units for locating.
Great, thank you.
Cool.
I like that.
Yeah, probably time.
So I'm good with it. I'm good.
Yeah, I think I'm good.
Do we hear
I'll make a motion. Madam Mayor, I move that we approve Labella Task 17.
It's actually just a proposal. It's not, we had it incorrectly listed as a task order.
I was the preliminary project scope on.
Yes.
Oh,
It's just a proposal.
so do we have to approve anything?
What's the deadline?
We have to have this submitted by the end of the month for approval by the state. That was where I was saying, we need to give them a proposal for them to review and approve.
For us to make an actual motion.
Yes.
So just take task 17 out of it.
Right,
and make
that's
that
all.
motion.
Right.
Just take that out.
I move that we approve Labella AIA preliminary project scope.
Perfect.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Then unanimously, the Labella AIA preliminary project scope is approved.
Thank you.
Mhm.
I think we'd have that by November, just depending on how long the state takes.
The approval from them, I don't know, I would imagine that their review of the scope and their turnaround would be fairly quick.
Yes, that's good. I mean, we want to do it by the drawdown, because it's tough
That's
Wrong
right.
timeline.
it's tough
Yeah,
to
wrong
see
time
smoke
frame.
underwater. We'll
That's right.
probably try, but it won't
Okay.
work.
All right, we'll move on
Thank
to
you.
our next item, which is consider approval of the budget amendment number 344 for road and sinkhole repair at 276 and 284 Burnt Ridge Road. And I think, Mr. Lindsay, you're,
Yes, on Burnt Ridge, we've had the road that's been degraded. It's sunk on one side, and it's promoting water to go in front of the residents' homes. What the town would like to do, it has created a sinkhole, but part of this, before we can repair the road, we will be repairing the sinkhole and part of the driveway that connects. And we will be regrading the road to promote the water to go into the ditch on the other side of the road. But we do have the two, that we'll be using the paving contractor and another contractor for the retaining wall and the repair of the driveway and the sinkhole.
okay.
And that estimate,
The budget amendment is for 24,000 then.
I just want to look at the finance director and let him go like that.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I
Where
mean,
is
we
he?
don't,
Yeah.
Okay.
There he is. I couldn't find him. I was sitting there looking for him.
Steve, the big picture on this is we don't want to use paving money because that'll cut into it too far, so we want to augment from the general fund to get this done instead of using paving money.
Right,
Okay.
right, yeah, fund reserve, yes. I'm sorry.
I have a comment for the town manager on this, just because we're continuing to see that people do modifications to the roads, particularly up on Burnt Ridge, which is channeling water, which is good for them because it gets it away from their house, but it's causing damage to the road. So I think we may want to just take a look and see if there's any other ones out there like that and notify the property owners if we need to modify the road back to the original way it was constructed to avoid this, because this is the second, and they're close to each other. This is close to the other
one
issue.
house away from the
Yeah,
previous.
so my comment is that, take a look at it, we may wanna go after some other modifications to that road, so that we don't keep chasing our tail with new money.
Understood.
Okay.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor, I move that we approve budget amendment 344 for road and sinkhole repair at 276 and 284 Burnt Ridge Road.
Second,
I'll second that.
all in favor?
Aye.
Then it passes unanimously. Thank you, Dean. Oh, you stay where you are.
Yeah.
Our next item is request for permission to use reimbursement of ARPA, American Rescue Plan Act funds for the SCADA system for the sewer project.
Okay, for this is for our, it's helping us out for our current sewer system and the future sewer system. This is all the SCADA is the supervisory data and acquisition. So it allows for remote monitoring of the new sewer system as well as our current sewer system. From our incident we had at the lift station, this will enable us to, we can use these funding to fix our current lift station and better maintain our sewer system. But it'll give us remote control and monitoring so that we do need the more instantaneous reaction time instead of checking it once a day. And but that's the big thing for this, so talk with the engineers, it's part of we need it for the future system, but we have decided instead of going with the cloud base, everything will be cellular and, as far as communication, and, our server will be located at the dam operations center.
And what's the cost gonna be?
The cost right now is estimated at $131,000. And that would be, for the SCADA system, for the whole, for the new sewer system and existing, and, the installation and for the electrical controls at the, lift station. We added that in there because the last incident we had it put everything underwater, so all of our controls, wiring and everything, we had to dry everything out just to get the use back out of it. But everything will be put above the water line for future use.
And this is no matching funds on our side, it's just money from you?
No, sir.
What we're doing this evening, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Lindsay, is we had been before council month, 2 or 3 months ago with an equipment list, and it's the same thing. We will be submitting the SCADA system and the approximate cost that we've got, that we discussed here this evening, to DEQ for them to say, yes, we approve this for reimbursement. We just need to have council approval this evening to march forward on it.
I would also, just for information, so if I got this right, Dean, so this is the first time, this is the foundational system, right?
Yes.
Then all the other different pieces, the chimney rock, water system, the firefly system, the pressures throughout the entire system, the wastewater treatment plant when it comes online, all these are add-on SCADA-capable systems that you could then monitor from a central location to keep your folks from going all over the place.
The end goal is
Okay.
people will be able to sit and see the snapshot of our town,
Yeah,
alarms and everything,
right,
and it's more instantaneous. If we have a problem up at Firefly Cove,
yep.
it's gonna be a lot more better reaction time, and,
So when the Firefly Cove pressure gets up to 120 pounds, we'll know about it well in advance before
Didn't
it
have
does
me
it.
much 2 weeks ago,
Well,
did it?
at least-
This is every.
At least we'll see it before it happens. But,
Yeah.
But the point is that this is the basic system, the start, in order to then fund all the different add-ons that we go on, and it's all interchangeable and
Yes.
intercompatible with each other. Okay.
everything we're starting, this is the basis,
Right.
and we can expand infinitely, just to tie all the systems in the town together, even down to if you ever wanted for building automation.
Right.
You'd see
This just occurred to me, do the meters hook into this too, or is that a separate system?
no, the new meters will have a radio controlled, they will be downloaded into a USB,
Yeah,
or they have their own system.
yeah, so a separate system.
So when do you think that's gonna happen?
I would love to know, we're still with the procurement of the parts, it's the radio and the transmitters, but my last estimate was 6 weeks, and that was 3 weeks ago. I usually call every week to get an update on the meters. We have the meters that are available, it's just the electronics for the radio controls.
So all the meters are installed, all the.
No, we have the meters, the physical meters available, it's the radio transmitters.
Okay.
We've got the control boxes, everything, but the
When you
parts.
say we have that in our possession?
No, it's at the Ferguson.
Okay.
I've told them that, as the town, we are not gonna piecemeal it. We will buy everything together and get it installed. Yes,
Okay.
we're still waiting.
Any other questions for Mr. Lindsay?
No, I got it, Madam Mayor. I move that we, let's see, let me make sure I got exactly what we want to do here.
It's right.
I recommend that we approve the request for permission to use reimbursement of ARPA funds for the SCADA system for sewer project.
I'll make a second.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Then that passes unanimously. I think that's the last one,
No.
Dean.
Yeah, this is.
Possibly, Dean and I can handle it, the next one too. I'll start off with it.
All right, the next item
Yeah.
is the Duke Energy Power Purchase Agreement, and
Yep. Apologize, this is the first time that you guys have had this for consideration this evening. It came on rather quickly. I received an email correspondence from Mr. Craig DeBrew of Duke Energy letting me know that our power purchase agreement with the town and Duke had recently expired. I think it was at the end of September. where we got right now is that we had a meeting with Mr. DeBrew and Mr. Michael Keene and another associate. We've got some material in your agenda packet this evening. The recommendation for staff this evening is for the town council to authorize me to further negotiate and execute a one-year power purchase agreement and take care of any associated forms with it. You can see in the one-year term that you've got it, that there is a substantial increase in revenue potential to the town of Lake Lure over going with the 5-year and 10-year term. If we go with this one-year term, we will take it for the 1 year, and then we'll be back to this next year, probably in August, ahead of time when it's going to be expiring. We'll see what the then terms are at that point. Duke's rates that they have proposed here for their summer, winter, and their capacity pricing are based on their current cost of natural gas and other ways that they produce power. Right now, those costs are at an unprecedented high. That's why the one-year term is so much more than the multi-year terms. They're also going to pay us $4 per megawatt hour of our, what is it called? It's a,
Capacity credit.
well, it's that, but it's our energy credits that we've got. Yep. Yep. And then they informed us today, and they gave us some figures for it. We've got some historical credits still available. They're not only going to pay us the $4 on top of the capacity and the other peak times for it, but they're going to also pass and purchase our, what they refer to as vintage RECs from 22, 21, and 20. Mr. Lindsay did the computations based on their expected price. We're probably talking almost $18,000 that Duke is going to be willing to pay us for the vintage prices moving backwards, in addition to the $4 per megawatt hour moving forward.
Great.
Okay.
That's, Hank, this is a great thing for us. The other thing worth mentioning is the automation that we purchased for the dam. It sets us up very well because these hours are scattered, because it's now integrated with wind and solar. So the peak hours are during the off hours, but now we have the automation to match that to further maximize the rates that are proposed.
That is correct.
And I doubt that energy prices are gonna come down anytime soon. So I think everything works to our advantage, and therefore I move that we approve the Duke Energy Power Purchase Agreement.
Well, actually, you're granting authorization to the manager. It's laid out in how it's done, because,
That's not what it says.
well, the recommended motion in the requested action.
Oh, to grant you authorization to proceed
Right.
to negotiate?
And then,
Okay.
and to be able to execute that one-year term, and then to take care of any completing and signing the other documents. that go along
Who's
with
gonna sign the
it.
agreement?
That will be me.
Okay,
Mhm.
So
so,
that's what the motion is.
so we're recommending you to negotiate and then sign when you're comfortable after the negotiation?
Yes, sir. The goal here is to have this in place by November 1st to
Okay.
maximize our revenues moving forward.
All right then, I move that we grant authorization for the town manager to proceed to negotiate and execute a one-year term power purchase agreement with Duke Energy.
All righty?
I'll
Is there a
second that.
Thank you, Commissioner Proctor. All in favor?
Aye.
Then that authorization is given.
Do we need a new item to hire somebody to do a rain dance?
Right.
Yeah.
All right, and that is the end of our new business. We are now going to move into closed session, and that is the last item on our agenda. So just letting you know that if we go away, we won't be coming back for more open session. Thank you.
Okay. Madam Mayor, make a motion, we move into closed session in accordance with GS 143-318, Attack 11, Alpha 3 for attorney-client privilege.
I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Let's take a 5-minute break
Yes,
and then
take
move
5
in.
minutes. Dana.
We gotta go to the conference room again, or stay here?
Conference room.
Okay.
Yeah.